Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of House Dads. We're excited to have you. We're honored that you're watching. We have another jacked guest. Let's say another. It might be our first. No offense to the others. This is the first guest I think that can, no offense, Brandon, probably out bench press, out deadlift, out squat, all of us put together.
We'd have to go back to the guest, but I'm sure Hayden can. Yeah.
No, we're pumped to have Hayden Clark on the show. This episode, Hayden Clark is the owner, CEO, operator, whatever you would label.
Head floor sweeper,
There
whatever
you
you
go.
want to
He's
call me.
everything, jack of all trades with Iron Tribe Fitness here in Baton Rouge. Another bit of a home field advantage because I feel like I know him a little more than Brandon does. But
sure.
talking, we kind of got some mutual.
Yeah, we got shout out our boy Austin, bro.
Yeah, Austin.
Yeah.
AB.
Yeah, so we got a
Where you
mutual
at?
connection through Austin.
Yeah, we do.
So glad to have that.
Yeah, we're pumped to have you, man. So I think I was trying to like think back of how I like know you, and of course I think it's mutual friends. And your wife went to Parkview, correct?
Yes, that's right.
I think that's the connection.
That's-
Our wives know each other.
Gotcha.
Yep. Yeah.
And
That's all
And
your
then
friends.
our kids played soccer.
yeah, I was gonna say
together.
our kids were on the same soccer team for
Yeah.
one season.
Yeah.
I think yours was on steroids because he was scoring all the goals.
Started him young,
No,
eh?
you're thinking of Andrew Miller, one of my son's friends.
Okay.
Gotcha.
He was the one scoring all the
Oh,
goals.
okay.
And he is a freak athlete.
Yeah,
as
that just
a
happens.
5-year-old.
Either
or
way,
however old.
blowing everybody out of the water. I was like, I had to,
Yeah.
take Hayden aside. I was like, hey man, we need to test these kids.
Quick aside, do you have any friends that Brandy didn't introduce you to? Or
I don't have any friends actually. Now that we're here.
I'm just kidding. No, we're friends, and Brandy didn't necessarily
That's
introduce
true.
us. That's
Might
true.
be, there's
Sorry.
one.
Quick,
Brandon.
quick. No,
No, I'm
just
wondering.
shout out to Brandy.
Shout out to Brandy. She
Yeah.
does help me with my network of people.
Yeah, that's
but
great.
yeah, man, we're pumped to have you.
Thanks for having me.
And it's going to be a cool combo. I think there's a lot of ways we can go with it, but we're excited to go either way.
Excited
We
to be
had to
here.
kind of stop a little bit earlier because we were getting into all the content of the episode off camera.
Yes, we got a lot of waves flowing the same direction.
For sure. But just kind of start from the beginning. Tell us a little bit about you growing up, where you're from, what school was like, and what's led you to what you're doing now. A little bit more about that too.
Yeah, so grew up in Baton Rouge. Basically, a family of 4. I've got an older brother, 2 younger sisters, amazing parents. Would say they were the type of parents that just wanted their kids to be happy, wanted to put them in a position to be successful in life, and just owe a lot of who I am today and where I am today because of that stability on the home front that I got. Grew up going to school at St. Aloysius, go Lions, and just probably your average adolescence. Was really big into sports, loved baseball, all things LSU. Then went to high school first couple years at Catholic High. I couldn't quite make my dad proud in that regard. He was a distinguished alum. I think he was the president of the Alumni Association whenever we had to call it quits at Catholic High. So I don't know how this happened, but my parents landed on the Dunham School of all places. So went from all guys school of north of 200 guys in a class to a total of 78 students. There was girls too. That was definitely a highlight at the time for me.
That was a plus. Thanks, Dad.
So transitioned to Dunham, and I would just say in high school, as I mentioned earlier, I loved baseball. That was a big part of who I was and what I was aiming for in life. I pitched. I wanted to go and play in college, so played travel ball. And my junior year, I actually blew up my knee. And from there, just started asking myself, like, why am I here? What's my purpose in life? Yeah. Some really kind of deep philosophical questions. And it actually led me to a pretty, dark period of life where I dealt a lot with depression. And what was, I guess interesting was if there was somebody in my class or in my life from the outside looking in, it probably in a lot of ways seemed like Hayden has it all together. There's a lot of things going for him. But on the inside, I was just empty.
Yeah.
And so fast forward to my senior year, I'm healthy again, but my grades were terrible. I'm not even going to lie. I was not applying myself academically. And I was just like, if something doesn't change, I legitimately don't know where my life's going to go.
Right.
And it was just this daunting sense of fear that I had of like, man, where's my life going?
Yeah.
I don't have control over it. And At Dunham, they're very faith forward. It's a non-denominational Christian school, and not that I hadn't been exposed to Christianity or faith for that matter, but not in the way that they were. And funny enough, I don't know that anybody else can brag about this, but I failed Bible my sophomore year, and I had to go to summer school for Bible. So, fun facts to know about me. 2 weeks with Miss Lowry. Shout out to Miss Lowry, and. I guess, fast forward back to my senior year, I'm healthy again, asking myself all these questions. And at Dunham, there's a mandatory senior beach retreat that you have to go on. And the only redeeming factors for me were like there was a beach, and again there was girls there, and so went into it literally no expectations. Was kind of fearful that like, man, they're gonna push this spirituality on me, and to be honest, like a lot of people at school kind of saw me as like the rebel and the kid who, was getting into no good, which people, whenever I say this now, they're like, what do you mean?
Way.
Like, And, but our first morning down there, my junior Bible teacher who I had a lot of respect for, Lance Hahn, he started praying over the small group that I got put in. And he just said, Lord, I pray that these men and women's walls fall down and they can begin to have a relationship with you.
Come on, man.
And so in that moment, I literally just prayed, hey, Christ, I know this story about you living 2,000 years ago. I know that you died on a cross, apparently for my sin, but it's just a story to me. Like, help bring this to life. And by God's grace, that story became real to me. And the best way I could describe it then was like, I was the gasoline car trying to put diesel in, and everything in life just was frustrating. And so got the right fuel. And from there, I was a new person, and there's really no other way to put it. That was September 19th, 2009. Got back from that retreat. My parents were like, what the heck happened to Hayden? So were all my friends. And man, it was super humbling. And so my senior year was really pivotal point in my life because just prior to that weekend, lost, depressed, didn't have this sense of like, where's my life going? And then all I really knew was like, man, I was loved by God, that I had a clear sense of who made me, why he made me, and that I could walk with him through whatever life presented. And so that gave me just a strong foundation. God put a lot of awesome people in my life, Lance being one of them. He was also a pastor. He just brought me under his wing and started to invest in my life. And man, just from there, kind of springboarded into college. And initially, I wanted to go to seminary, which just makes total sense. I'm kind of a 0 to 100 personality. And so that was very much my faith journey. It was like the only logical decision is like, I need to go straight into ministry. And I had no framework for it, nor did my family. And so my parents were like, no, you're not doing that. And so did a few semesters at BRCC. Then my parents were like, hey, all right, if this is really what you want to do, let's go tour the school. And so I ended up enrolling at Level College, which is a sister school of New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary. And so went there for a semester, went to Africa for a summer.
Wow.
I was a leader for a mission trip through the chapel, which is hysterical because I was like 18, 19, never been out of the country. Why they trusted me to...
They had nobody else.
Oh, absolutely.
Hayden's on fire.
And, and so that was like really amazing experience. Got back and I actually moved to Buffalo, New York for a few months to start a college ministry.
Dang, dude.
That ended up going south. We won't get into that, but learned a lot from that experience and basically got back into Baton Rouge. And it was about that time, and even prior to that, I had gotten connected with the owner of Spectrum Fitness Centers. So I was working out at Spectrum South Downs, which is kind of right in the area that I grew up in. And he asked, I was working out one day and he just said, hey, have you ever thought about doing personal training? And I was like, what do you, no, but it sounds awesome. Like I like working out. I like people. Sounds like this could be fun. So paid for me to get certified. And basically that was my entrance into the fitness arena. So
awesome, man.
That's really cool. Man.
Buffalo. We were just talking about how Brandon almost wanted to move to New York.
Tried to convince Gordon.
Hayden actually did it.
I went when it was not cold.
I was about to say.
So I can't like give like an honest assessment of what Buffalo was like. I can say people here are a lot more friendly.
Sure.
Yeah,
I can imagine that.
Yeah.
I can imagine that.
Say what you will about the
it's-
South.
It's
We-
good to be back in the South.
Yeah.
We
I
got
bet.
some hospitality.
Yeah.
So your faith journey and how it went from, you starting personal training, things like that, connect a little bit of that tissue to meeting your wife and
Yeah.
family and whatnot. So where does she come into the picture?
Man, that's like
and all
the
this?
next big
Yeah.
thing in my life is meeting Janae. So
Yeah.
basically, I'm at seminary. I'm commuting there Tuesday, Thursday, and then Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm leading small group personal training sessions at Spectrum South Downs. I help build out this functional fitness area called Gorilla Fitness. It's something else now.
Yeah.
But it was just a really cool opportunity. It was the first time I got to experience like what entrepreneurship, starting something from nothing.
Yeah.
I literally ordered the equipment.
Yeah.
I laid all the rubber flooring down. I had to get all of my clients. And so it was, but even as I was doing that, it wasn't like, I still thought full-time ministry
Yeah.
is the route.
Yeah.
And so fast forward to, I guess it was my end of my sophomore year in college. And I walk into the student center one day and a girl comes up to me and she's like, "Hey, it's Janae. Like, do you remember me?" And I lied. I was like, yeah. She's like, "You remember, like, we met at the Mardi Gras ball?" And it wasn't because I was drinking.
Sure.
It was just out of context,
just
dark
missed it.
lighting. I just missed it.
Yep.
And so I tried to get away with lying, but very quickly she realized,
she's like, "You don't
you don't know me." So that was our first interaction. And then like months passed. And I was very much like, I'm not marrying a seminary girl. They don't understand my background. They don't get me. Like,
Sure.
it's just, I'm going to have to meet somebody else. Well, come to find out, God had different plans. Janae was sitting in the student center again. She was eating lunch, and I just thought, I'm going to sit by her and get to talking. And so we started talking, and basically there was a lot in common that we had. And I walked away from that conversation. I know it sounds crazy, but I was like, I think I'm going to marry this girl.
Nice.
Yeah.
And 4.5 months later,
4.5 months.
I proposed to her.
Let's go.
And
0
said-
to 100. You're living up to
again, hey, look, there's a theme. And then, so we ended up, getting married within the year. And, I think most of my family thought I was crazy because I was like 23 years old.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You don't even have a job or a house or any money.
We'll figure that out.
Yeah. What are you going to do? And so, we got married, and we'll make 10 years in September.
That's awesome,
So,
bro. Yes.
after we got married, we moved on a campus. We lived in a glorified dorm room.
Yeah.
It was less than 500 square feet.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Life was simple.
Yeah.
It was just love, you know?
Uh-huh.
That's right.
And so while I was actually prepping our house to be ready for whenever we got married, I was taking a bunch of like furniture, garbage to the dumpster. And there's this guy named Justin Phillips who was heading off campus. He said like, "Hey man, I'm actually heading to Iron Tribe Fitness. And I know that you're a trainer. They're actually looking for a trainer. And why don't you hop in the car?" And you can't.
That's crazy.
Well, and I knew Justin, like we had
Sure.
worked out before on campus.
Yeah.
Like there was a relationship
Okay.
there. It wasn't
We're
like
not
a
having a
random.
random
Yeah, it wasn't a
angel.
random. Yeah, I should maybe bring more color in.
There's a white van, and he said,
I'm
"Yeah."
trying to I'm trying to
some candy?
condense like so much
Yeah,
of my
you're good.
story. But so I hopped in the car, went and did this workout, met the manager. And then that started the interview process that felt like I was getting hired by the CIA or the FBI. It was like
right.
my first big boy
Yeah.
interview
Yeah.
process. And a month and a half later, I became a coach at Iron Tribe downtown New Orleans. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the marriage, getting
Yeah.
connected to Iron
Tribe.
Tribe. And
that's what kind of lit the spark for Iron Tribe, or at least it's for you to see the inner workings of what.
So there was more there. So basically, I started working there. As I was coaching, instantly, like I love the format. I love the structure
Right.
of class. I like that there was this strong sense of community, and there was this focus on really helping change people's lives from a physical perspective, and that could lead to a real relationship between you and that person that
Yeah.
you're helping, where you could really make an impact far beyond just the physical. And so that was definitely. It was a lot of fun, but still in my mind, there wasn't like this sense of like, hey, this is what you're going to be doing.
Yeah, Sure. yeah.
And at the time, again, still in seminary, wrapping up, and the 3 options that I was evaluating, or I guess 2 really, was overseas missions, and specifically biblical translation. So I'd studied Greek for 4 semesters.
Let's go.
And again, like, people are like, they don't even know this stuff
That's
about me for the most
awesome.
part.
It's a flex, honestly.
Yeah. So I knew Greek, and I really enjoyed it. And just this whole idea that there was people that didn't have access to the Bible that I could read so easily.
Yeah.
It just shook me because Christ had so drastically given me this new identity, this new purpose in life, where, to be quite honest, like, if my senior beach retreat happened, I'm either in jail or dead. Like, that's just the lifestyle that I was living. And I don't think anybody in my family would be surprised by me saying it that way. Yeah. And so, because Christ had made such a huge impact, it was like, man, I can't imagine somebody not having access to this good news, this message. And so was praying through that. We had kind of started the process of applying through the IMB. We were looking at Wycliffe Bible translators. And I mean, I could tell you all about that whole process, but basically you get planted in a people group and it's like a 30-year project. I mean, it's your life.
That's
and
your life.
If maybe you learn the syntax of their language and are able to develop a vocabulary, and then you have to teach them how to read. So I could go into it, but so I was praying through that. We were praying through that. And then I was also really interested in law school. My dad's a corporate attorney in town.
So many.
Come on, man.
And the reason why that was intriguing to me was, like, I really like reading and I like making an argument for a certain position that I'm taking on a subject. And so, and that's a lot of what seminary is. You're just reading a lot of theology books and then you're writing papers. And so I thought, well, if I like it here, maybe law school wouldn't be so bad. And I have somebody in my corner who has a framework for what that would be like. So maybe I'll take the LSAT once I graduate. And my wife, she's just like there cheering me on, like, this man's crazy, probably in the back of her head. And all the while I'm still coaching at Iron Tribe, loving that job, having a lot of fun. Well, out of the blue, this is like maybe a couple months before I graduate, I get a phone call from who now is the former president of Iron Tribe. His name is Jim Cavell. He's gone on, started a bunch of different successful companies. Y'all can Google him. Jim's the man. And he calls me and says, Hayden, I just got out of a meeting with Kate and Carrie Jenkins. They're the owners of Iron Tribe New Orleans. They spoke really highly of you. Apparently, your wife got a teaching position back in Baton Rouge. I hear you're going to be moving back to Baton Rouge. Kate and Carrie have no plans to develop Baton Rouge territory. What would you think about opening an Iron Tribe? And I'm like, Jim, I'm flattered. This is great. I don't have any money, so I don't know how I honestly just don't know how that's going to work. And so he's like, don't worry about it. And he convinced me. He's like, you can go to law school later. You can do what? He's like, you're only 23. And I'm like, man, he makes a good point. Like, let's search this out. And kind of the framework that I was operating from was, hey, if the doors continue to open, I'm going to keep walking through them.
That's right.
And if they get closed, then, hey, we know that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. And so he actually helped me prepare a pro forma, just projecting out our first 3 years in operation, good, bad, ugly scenarios. I built that out. I pitched it to a group of potential investors in Birmingham. My dad all the while was advising me through the process, just having help develop and start small companies in Baton Rouge. And basically got home from that, I think it was called Discovery Day, where I made that pitch. And he just said, Hayden, the opportunities you have, I don't see any of them going how I would want for my son. Mom and I want to do this with you. Nice. Let's make this a family thing.
Come on,
and
man.
so
Awesome.
I actually had to pitch it to my siblings on our back porch. And let's just say, 2 of the 3 were not on board. My brother, who was an accountant, was like, I don't understand how this is going to work. The franchise disclosure document is not encouraging. These numbers are not good. And so anyhow, that's awesome. We walked out of that conversation and now the rest of is history. But all started on the back porch in 100 Oaks, just a couple blocks away from our first location in Mid-City. So
let's go.
That's incredible.
What a story.
So three distinctively different options of overseas missionary. law school, franchise owner, entrepreneur, business owner, like, right?
I had no idea what I was doing.
Oh, that was gonna be my question. Is like when you like you pitched it, I guess you
Yeah.
pulled the trigger. Like, what was the hardest part in starting all of that?
Yeah. So, as I was kind of just, as I think about where my mind was at that point in time, again, it was very simple. It's like, if the doors keep opening,
Yeah.
that means that there's something here, that there's a level of competency that I currently have that allows me to, be in this position to be able to open up an Iron Tribe in my own hometown. And so initially there wasn't like, I need to know all of this, I need to have all this buttoned up. It was really quite simple. It was like, I'm going to open a gym.
Yeah.
And I just need to make sure that everybody that comes in our doors feels seen, known, loved. The service that we're providing is exceptional, and it's actually yielding results.
Right.
Yep.
And so I just kind of kept it simple.
Yeah.
And I remember whenever we, I guess one of the challenges we faced was like finding the location.
Sure.
Found the location. My parents actually bought that property. It was old, dilapidated. Nobody wanted it.
Yeah.
And the for sale sign was actually like tipping down.
Yeah.
And I called our realtor at the time. I was like, why have you not shown me this property? He's like, well, it's a dump. And so basically the previous owners of that property were between us, there was a bank between the previous owners. And so they were like, I think maybe about to foreclose.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
we went in low and got it's just like, you can't make it. I was like, here you go. And so just really cool. Another door open.
Yeah.
We did run into a potential soil problem.
Wow.
So I had
We don't deal with that stuff in
I had this
residential.
huge phase 2 binder
man.
Oh,
of
Lord.
the soil reports.
Yeah.
So I had to learn all about that.
Yeah.
But as we were building the building, I was actually meeting with people at coffee shops that were convenient for them all throughout Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
Basically just telling them like, this is what we do at Iron Tribe.
Yeah.
This is how we're going to make a change in your life. Would you want to become a member? And I have no clue to this day why 80 plus people
man.
without
That's
seeing a
awesome.
building
Yeah.
decided to put their faith in this young kid
Yeah.
for that matter
Yeah.
who had never run a gym before. And so we opened January 16th, 2017. So we're about 7.5 years old now. But yeah, it was wild.
It's incredible.
Fun fact: while you were building, I lived in South Downs at the time.
Okay.
And I was a member at Red Stick CrossFit.
Okay, yeah.
So I would pass by it every single day, and I would see the progress of it. I mean, of course, you see, gym, another gym, but then,
Sure.
like, it's admiring to see like the process of like years later. Ooh, a second location. Okay, something's right.
Yeah, well,
it's encouraging.
taking it a day at a time
Yeah.
still.
Yeah. So, and obviously since 2017, a lot has still transpired and happened with Iron Tribe.
Oh, yeah.
So what's been the natural progression and growth and things that y'all
Yeah,
done
so
since?
I always kind of had this like long-term vision in my head of I don't want to just be like a rocket that shoots out hot and then fizzles out and comes back down to earth.
Right.
I want what we're doing at Iron Tribe to last.
Be
I
sustainable.
want it to be sustainable. And so I think that helped take the pressure off of me very early on because I knew that something great couldn't be built in way of community and relationships and impact overnight.
Yeah.
And so it helped take the pressure, and it still does to this day. It's like I'm having to think 5-10 years out, like,
Right.
and those inform how I'm making, business decisions. And so, but at least initially it was me and 2 other coaches. So I coached, I was the full-time janitor.
Yeah.
I was the full-time sales
Right.
guy.
Yeah.
And rest assured, I probably dropped the ball a lot more than I held it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by God's grace, we continue to grow. And I guess really kind of fast forward, we, went through 2020. That was wild.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's insane.
you get a phone call
I'm
and
sure
it's
for
like,
a gym,
hey,
can't be.
you're going to get closed down.
Yeah.
Looks like 2 weeks. A day would have been enough
Sure.
to stress me out.
Yeah.
And then it turned into 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And so I've always said this, like, you got to keep the bottom line in business. Like for us, it's lives changed,
Yeah.
but for whatever it is that you do, it's the person on the other side whom you're serving. And so,
Yeah.
throughout that period of time, we just kind of flipped the switch, try to go virtual, try to do whatever we could to keep our members engaged and living the healthy lifestyle that we had worked so hard to help them develop.
Right.
And so we reopened, and at that point in time, we had already kind of started to talk about expanding to Perkins. But then, the price of the project went up like 30 or 40%.
Jeez.
It was nuts. So we went through like valued engineering, like it's felt like 10 times. So the iteration of the building that stands on Perkins today is like design number 20. I mean,
really?
like,
That's crazy.
yeah. I mean, I'm probably being a little exaggerated
it's
on
a
that,
lot,
but it felt like 20.
Yeah.
And so, but through that process between like going from 1 to 2, I had no idea. Like, I had worked within the capacity of the coach, then the manager.
Yeah.
Now I had a full team of coaches, so I was no longer coaching on the floor.
Right.
And so a little bit of letting go of the vine, letting go of like directly putting your hand on the experience, and that certainly felt uncomfortable. And then Austin, bro, he took over managing Mid-City, would have been 2021.
Okay.
And so he managed it that full year, kind of in preparation to opening up Iron Tribe Perkins in 2022.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I get a phone call in November of 2020. Yeah, 2020. Yeah. And it was Forrest Walden who founded Iron Tribe. He said, Hayden, I got this wrinkle to throw at you. Kate and Carrie are ready to kind of close up the gym, but they're wondering maybe would you be open to taking it over?
Wow.
And, we had like no time to think about it.
Yeah.
And hindsight, that was not a good scenario to be making decisions.
Urgency.
So basically moved forward, took over New Orleans, ran it for 18 months. And at least for us, it felt like a good analogy to describe our experience was if there is a ship on the bottom of the ocean floor, it's going to be a lot easier to just build a new ship than try to resurrect that ship.
Right.
Yeah.
And if nobody else is swimming down to get it, there's probably a reason. And so
there's no treasure
obviously
there.
easy for me to say that now, but we did our
hindsight.
best. We tried to do everything we were doing in Baton Rouge to serve our members well. And we just couldn't get people in the door. And New Orleans was in a different climate post-COVID
Way different.
than Baton Rouge.
Way
so,
different.
man, that was a humbling experience as an entrepreneur.
It's wild 60 miles down the road, how different the people, how different the culture.
I always
crazy.
loved like, well, what's different? It's like, look,
Everything?
if I knew, I would be doing what, I'd be figuring it out.
Yeah.
So we ended up, after we opened up Iron Tribe Perkins in April of 2022.
Cool.
And then I guess 6 months after opening Perkins, we finally passed off the gym back to the corporate office.
man.
So then we could just focus on the 2 gyms here.
Heck yeah.
But through that period of time, from like our first gym to opening Perkins, we had 3 kids.
Yeah.
And so like
The family elements come into play.
and true story. So after opening Mid-City, 6 weeks after, we had our first H2, Hayden. And I don't call him Hayden Jr. It's like this whole thing. His real like legal name is Hayden Jacob Clark II, which apparently is improper. Like you're supposed to pass a generation. My dad let me know.
Sure.
And I was like, cool, Dad. We're in the new millennia. Like,
Right.
we
Yeah.
can do
We're doing
whatever we
something new.
want.
Yeah.
So basically, the day he was born, the birth experience was crazy. And I get a call from who was the lead coach at the time. And he's like, I've been throwing up. I'm planning to go in. I'm like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
So like literally hours after my first kid was born, I was back at the gym, coached a whole day. And people were like, did you just have a kid? I'm like, yep, time for class to get started. Let's go.
Stretch. It's awesome. How'd your wife feel about that? She's like, go.
Janae, she deserves like a lot of credit because she understood the circumstances and she never once complained. And I think she felt bad for me, which is crazy. Like you just birthed a kid.
selfless,
Like you shouldn't be thinking about me.
That's cool. That's cool.
And then in a similar way, whenever we opened Perkins, we had a 6-week-old Hazel, our third. So life
milestone after milestone. after milestone.
It's like for a while I was making the joke with each kid we're gonna open a
another
gym.
location for you. That's really cool,
right.
man.
Well, We're kind of all over the place here. So.
That's my fault.
No, you're
this is
good.
perfect.
You're blending in well.
I think what's natural is that I think it's so easy to see. Okay, well, we opened a new location, and there's a moment where you feel like, oh, okay, well, we hit that milestone. It's time to sit back, or like it's done at least.
Yeah.
And I think even for people looking on the outside, we have those milestones that we set in our life, and we say, well, once I finally hit that place, then it's going to get a little easier. Mm-hmm. But we all know that like every season requires more of you than the past.
Absolutely.
If we're growing.
Oh yeah.
And so I guess just what's a day in the life look like now?
Yeah.
And so I think that's why I'm saying it. I think from the outside looking in, it's like, oh, well, you got these locations going, probably just rocking and rolling, probably just sitting back, and now things are easier.
Oh no.
But talk a little bit about how it does require more of you now. And
it is funny how like perception isn't always reality, and how, as an entrepreneur, it's easy for, especially whenever like me, I was so forward facing on the gym floor, coaching and or managing, knew every member that walked in our doors, knew why they started, why they were still at Iron Tribe, what they were trying to accomplish. And now that looks a little different. And so I would say today, the way I've looked at these, like, I guess, evolutions and growth is a little bit of what I was doing, I had to pass on and give somebody else an opportunity. Yeah. And so the same opportunity I was given, even 10 plus years ago to become a coach at Iron Tribe, somebody took a chance on me. Mm-hmm. And that was my first legitimate like salary job. Mm-hmm. And to this day, like if it weren't for Kate and Carrie hiring me, I would not be in the position that I am today. And so there was just this, I think there's always this sense of humility where, hey, like, yes, we've grown, but I've wanted it to be good, and I've wanted to make an impact on the team that I currently have. And so, yes, now I've had to let go of the vine even more with 2 locations, and now there's a manager at each location and 3 coaches at each location. And so really it's making sure that each of those managers in Austin and Frank, they have everything they need to lead and run each of those gyms well. Right. And what that looks like on a daily basis, every day is a little bit different. Sure. Yeah. But it's a lot different than I never thought I'd have to understand accounting and finances and all the boring back of house stuff with business. But I probably do a whole lot more of that today. Yeah. Than of the forward-facing relational, but the relationship looks like I heard it said this way. There's a book called Excellence Wins by Horst Schulze, who he co-founded the Ritz-Carlton, and he said everybody in a business needs to know their number one customer. And he said if there's 10 people between the actual customer and the person in upper management, well, the person who's in management over, the next person, like their number one customer is that person that is directly under them. And so I'm seeking to ensure that the work environment that everybody on my team has, it's one where they can thrive, flourish. Right. And the big thing that I've learned is like in expansion, you got to have the right people and you got to have them in the right seat. Yeah. And so, I haven't quite figured it out. Again, my kind of like motto is like day at a time. Yeah. Yeah. That's right. And keep the bottom line, lives change. So
it's incredible. Man. Are you a routine guy?
I like to say that I'm not, but I definitely am.
What's a like morning look like for you?
Morning. Like a weekday morning. Like I just go through this morning. Sure. So woke up at 6. Went to the Perkins location for a 6:30 workout.
You led it or you did it?
No, I did it. Okay. Yeah. So I actually do what I tell people to do.
Practice what you preach.
Yeah. And so did a workout, had breakfast, showered up, and today was getting, ironically, a podcast room set up. At the house. But after this, I like to do all of our finances on Fridays, where I do the bookkeeping. Yeah. If there's P&L or payroll and all that fun stuff. Yeah. And so Friday's like finance day. Yeah. And I kind of have like each day has a different focus, if you will. That's so, great. Yeah. But and then I would say usually there's an element of like I'm getting away to a quiet spot. I'm getting alone with God. Yeah. I'm getting my heart and my mind ready for whatever's going to happen that day. Yeah. And I just think putting myself in a position of power rather than just like rushing through things,
Yeah.
which it's just so easy to do with young kids.
Yeah.
So not every day is perfect.
No,
Yeah.
not at all. I
It's
don't think any
tough.
day's perfect.
Yeah.
No.
But my nightly routine,
Oh,
that is what.
That's a game changer.
Oh, absolutely.
hear about
So at the beginning of the year, like I've wanted a sauna and a cold plunge
go.
for a really long time.
Yeah.
And so I made that investment and I put it in my garage. And
Okay.
so we get the kids down. Janae goes and has her time. And I get in the sauna and then I do the cold plunge. And I like to joke and tell people everything in life gets really clear above 200 degrees and below 40 degrees.
I like that.
And
That's
so
great. Yeah.
that's the way I kind of wind down.
I love that.
Then Janae and I connect. Maybe
Yeah.
we read, maybe watch a show or something.
Yeah.
And it just kind of refuels me for the next day.
Yeah.
So I like that night routine.
Yeah, that's great, man.
Fun fact, I've spent about 5 hours in water below 40 degrees this year.
yeah.
So,
Nice.
Yeah. That's awesome.
nobody's tracking that.
Well, you haven't put it on social media, so we may not even know you're telling the truth.
yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
I'm not good with social media. I'm working on it.
We've made some strong takes on cold plunges, you know,
yeah?
but it's just been in fun of do you even cold plunge if you don't let everybody know about it on
That's
Facebook?
funny.
So,
Well,
yeah,
it's
that's
funny.
kinda-
Whenever I first got it, I did post that I had gotten
Sure,
one.
right,
So
right.
guilty.
Yes, that's okay. That's okay.
Man, but I think a lot of people could open a gym, right? I think whether they get the funding from, they have it, or however they get it, they can open a gym, or they can do some sort of business and open a business. But I think not everybody can thrive in it, or not. And I think some people can make some money, but I think sometimes they're not fulfilled in it, right?
Yeah.
I think they lose track of why they did it, or however their success looks. It's blurred, right? So
Yeah.
I guess for you, and again, we admire what you put into what you've done. But what is it that like fulfills you with the gym, and what's your why with it, and what do you try to like stress to your members, or if you do stress that? To your
Yeah,
members?
I would say certainly there has been seasons where I've kept the mission,
Right.
and there have been seasons where just out of the sheer nature of the responsibility
Yeah.
and the demands of expenses that a business has to operate, you can lose sight of the why.
Right.
Yeah.
You can lose sight of the mission.
Right.
And so I would say, man, by God's grace, so the first like 3 or 4 years of Iron Tribe, I would say there was this unhealthy bend of focus to like, I gotta make this work. I got, and it was very mission focused,
Right.
but it was like Janae and maybe everybody else in my life was getting like the crumbs.
Yeah.
And I met this guy, Drew Hall. He runs Able Hall Advisors, a financial services company in town. And this was like a pivotal, one of the more important lunches I've ever had with anybody. And basically, we were at Cowboy Chicken on Segan.
Yeah.
And he's kind of a quirky individual, which is good for me because I needed somebody to like knock me out of
Sure.
like my comfort
Yeah.
zone.
Yeah.
And we sit down where you can like watch the chickens roast.
Yeah, I know
so
exactly
we're
what
not
you're talking
facing
about.
one another. We're shoulder to shoulder.
Side by side.
And he just asked some like really meaningful questions, and he wrapped it up by saying, Hayden, tomorrow, can you guarantee that the sun's gonna rise? And you just kind of sit there and you're like, well, no. Sure. And he's like, okay, let's just assume the sun is gonna rise. Can you guarantee that you'll be here to see it? And his whole point was like, you don't control anything.
Right.
And because I had just got done kind of eventing like the pressure of Iron Tribe, running a business, running a team, and doing things well. And he just challenged me like, man, you got to have some healthier rhythms. You can't
good.
let this business rule your life. And so that was the beginning of 2020, right before COVID happened.
Yeah.
It's good timing.
Yeah.
Oh, great timing.
Good time to hear that.
And so we had that lunch, and we're best friends now, and challenge one another, and what it looks like to walk with Christ in running a business and stewarding it. So I would say, man, just having this view that the business that I have is a gift.
Yeah.
It's not mine. Yes, there's been a lot of work that I've put forward to establish what we have today. And,
Sure.
Certainly want to value that effort and that time. But I also want to acknowledge the fact that there's been so many things happen good at Iron Tribe that I did not have my finger on.
Yeah,
That were totally outside of my control. Right. And so that was a huge conversation for me to have, because it let the pressure off of keeping this business afloat or this business thriving. And man, I kind of just like, God, if this is what you want me doing, then help me focus on what I can control. Right. So how I do show up for my team, how I do show up outside of Iron Tribe for my wife, for my friends, for my church family, and not letting it overcome me, or not having a false sense of reality as to what I actually am controlling. Yeah. And so, God's just humbled me through this like running a business. Yeah. Because you ebb and flow between, in it for the right reasons to this is overwhelming and controlling me. Right. And so even as recent as last week, I heard this quote said, like, the reason why missionaries always win versus mercenaries is because they're in it for the mission, not the money.
That's good.
And Chick-fil-A, they could have credit cards, they could have airplane miles, and they would probably still make money.
Sure.
But their mission is to have a great chicken sandwich. And anything that is not focused on that is off target. Right. And so for us at Iron Tribe, like we create fitness communities that change lives. Yeah. We promise to deliver a consistent client experience of support, welcoming community, and sustainable results. And so that's what I have to come back to.
It's huge.
Love it. It's easy to get distracted though.
No, it's big. And I think it's a perfect transition talking about that lunch that you had and kind of that wake up call that I think we all get. When it's in different seasons, we lose the why of our business, but we lose the why of like the business is relevant if we lose the family in the process.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
And so what does it look like for you now practically when you focus on Janae and focus on the kids? That we've talked about it before. It's not really a work-life balance because things don't work at 50% of your hours go to the business, 50% of your hours go to the So what's that look like for you? How do you focus on the family?
Yeah, again, someone that I express thanks to, Forrest Walden, who started Iron Tribe. He's been on, the journey of running a fitness business a lot longer than I have, and in many different ways. And, oftentimes it's easy as a franchisee to look at your franchisor and cast judgment, but it's like, I don't want to be in that man's shoes. His responsibility looks a lot different than me. Yeah. But at the beginning, or I guess for the last several years, he's been running a men's group called EX3. And so I joined that group, and one of kind of the frameworks that it's built on is this idea of having it all across all domains. And so the acronym that they use is body, being, balance, and business. Yeah. And so when I think about my life, I'm constantly having to be honest about the facts of where's my health in regards to my fitness? Yeah. Where's my health in regards to my faith? Right. Yeah. Where's my health in regards to my marriage, my parenting, my kids? Yeah. And where's my health in regards to how I'm running business? Yeah. And so I'm constantly coming back to that on a daily basis. I need to check in, because if you're an inch off course, you're eventually going to be a mile. Yeah. And I would just say it is a lot easier to make micro adjustments in life in regards to parenting and in regards to your faith and walk with God, in regards to how you're leading and running your business. And I would say there have been times in life where I haven't had a healthy framework, and I've been like the wave getting tossed to and fro. Right. And right now in this season of life, again, don't have it all figured out, but I'm coming back to those 4 B's and constantly evaluating. I think for me, I'm a big feeler, and I have these big desires, and I can tend to let those, jack me up and crush me. And getting clear about the facts of my life has helped me stay very even keel.
It's huge. So I think you said so much there, and a lot of it in Hayden, our college young adult pastor back here, he was saying the same thing, that like upon a space shuttle launch, if those coordinates are just a little bit off on launch, you don't notice it. But when it gets to its destination, it's thousands of hundreds of however many miles apart. And like you said, man, making those daily audits and those micro adjustments so that we don't find ourselves like with a broken family, a broken business. when we can just take it on a day-to-day basis
Absolutely.
and say what adjustments we can make. That's
Yeah, and
powerful.
there's a lot of practical things that we've put in place as a family, and whether it's like a family meeting once a week where we're getting downloaded on what's happening this week, where's our finances, what are we reading? You know, Janae, like we're one.
Yeah.
Like it's this miracle that God has made us one.
Yeah.
And in as much as we can communicate with one another, I really think there's this opportunity for us to thrive and flourish.
Yeah.
But anytime that I've like devoted more of my time, my talents, my treasure to in any disproportionate way to one domain of my life,
Right.
like I've mentioned earlier, everybody else suffers.
Yeah.
And I suffer.
Exactly.
You know, so it's like exercise. You know, if you don't exercise for a while, then getting back on the wagon, it's tough.
Yeah.
So I'm just taking it one day at a time, trying not to mess it up too big.
Yeah.
So
It's good, man.
If you don't mind sharing, you mentioned you got some quirky things to
Yeah.
like protect your time or whatever. You mind sharing? some
yeah,
of those?
so I realized that I don't know if it was like a year or two ago, just an disproportionately unhealthy addiction to my phone and way of checking it, whether that be social media or my inbox or text messages. And there was just this sense of like, if I'm always accessible to this media platform or whoever wants to talk with me, then I'm never present.
That's right.
And there's a lot of research behind this. I won't bore y'all with that, and you've probably even heard it.
Yeah, but it's huge.
But for me, you know, so if I were to open my home screen, I don't have any icons or apps on my first page.
Yeah.
And it's just this small intentional act of the only thing I have at the bottom is the phone feature and the messages.
Yeah.
I have to swipe over to the right, and then I have all of my apps categorized into a certain objective. And then, so I'm creating a little bit of a barrier.
Yeah.
So as to when I do like make that nervous open up the phone, I have to then ask myself, why are you opening the phone?
Correct. Right.
I usually have my phone on Do Not Disturb, and I check it basically periodically throughout the day.
Yeah.
And you're either being formed by what society says you need to be living like,
Right.
or you are forming how you want your life to be led.
good. Yeah.
And so I think I'm just really aware of my weaknesses, and my weaknesses tell me I've got to create some structure and barriers. So that'd be one with my phone. My wife doesn't like it too much. My team probably doesn't like it. And other people in my life probably don't like it too much. I actually got called out this week, and because I basically said, when in like relationship, here's some questions that like people asking me to stay on course. And one of my good friends, without hesitation, said, well, you first got to answer your phone
To be able to do that. Yeah.
I was like, touche.
Yeah.
So there's one quirky thing.
Well, I think we've been touching so much on it before we get in kind of the importance of exercise in your life and people's lives. Accountability is obviously huge in your life. And like so many times you've said that the reason where you are today is because somebody telling you something you didn't want to hear, but you needed to.
Oh, absolutely.
And we say a lot. It's a proverb. Wounds from a friend are better than kisses from an enemy.
Amen.
So talk a little bit about kind of accountability, the role that plays in your life, and why it's so important.
Well, so being a part of, I realize when you're in a position of leadership, while there is a sense of accountability that we have as a team at Iron Tribe, or between Janae and I and our marriage and how we parent and, the other areas of my life, there's some accountability, but EX3 has been huge for me this year because it's a group of men who, a lot of them don't live here in Baton Rouge. We get on a call on Mondays, and we kind of address where we are in relation to the targets we set on a 90-day basis across all four of those domains, body, being, balance, and business. And so weekly, I'm having to tell the truth. Yeah. And one of the sayings of EX3 is the most powerful man in the room is the one who can tell the truth. That's good. And so it's not always easy, and you always don't want to tell it because I'm broken, and there's times where I'm not leveling up. I'm not living to the standard that God's called me to. Right. But if I don't admit to that,
Yeah.
then the level of destruction that can creep into my life is insurmountable.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that's been a huge one for me this year. And just the local church.
Yeah.
I go to Christ Covenant. It's an amazing church family.
Yeah.
We help run a small group.
Yeah.
And I tell people whenever they thank us for running the small group, hey guys, this is selfish.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I need this.
Sure.
So like this is an easy commitment
Yeah.
because I need it.
Right.
You know. So
Right.
I think just realizing like, man, I'm just small. I'm weak, and this posture of I have it all together.
Yeah.
I know it all. At the top of the top.
Yeah.
It's just an illusion
Yeah.
that we like to paint.
Right.
And I just don't want to fall in that
huge, man.
category, I guess.
Yeah.
Good. It's
Makes
good.
sense. I think, I can resonate. I'm probably speaking for you as well, that when you're in a form of leadership and you're helping others stay accountable, like no one's really quite there to help you stay accountable, right? So I tell my team members all the time, like, hey, if I'm in this with you, like if you see me slacking, and they'll never do it because
Sure.
they feel like they're lesser than, but I think that's a game changer to get yourself in a group where you feel like you're all in a level playing field,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's been one thing I would say, like just organizationally, we started running on EOS traction several years ago.
Yeah.
Malcolm Brignac, he's a EOS implementer. He helped us get onboarded as a team. And so we have basically a level 10 meeting, a rhythm
Yeah.
that we follow as a leadership team. So me, Austin, and Frank, on a weekly basis, like we have to hold one another accountable to our commitments. And so there's a sense where I can't hide under somebody's, I have the right people, and I would say they realize because of the structure of that meeting, like they have to ask, like,
Sure.
did you do what you said you were going to do, or did you not?
Yeah.
And so that kind of
like
has
that.
bled into our
Allowing somebody else to have a check and balance on you, saying, hey, you got to ask me as a part of this.
which is someone like
Yeah.
I'm wired. I, in a disproportionately bad way, want to be independent.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone telling me to do, and I want to basically do whatever I want,
you wanna do?
which is just not good. Oftentimes I say America's drunk on freedom. Like, there's too much freedom sometimes.
Everybody wants, yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I have a little experience with EOS.
Yeah.
Part of that meeting is when you have to check in and say if you've done what you've done, you have to say done or not done, and you can't give any other verbiage.
Nope.
Right?
You can't
You have to
justify,
say, you can't say, well, I
rationalize.
didn't do it because, like, no. Done or not done.
That's it.
Right?
Come on,
Yeah.
man. That's
it's,
cool.
It's a game changer.
I like
That's
that.
what I've seen. So backtracking a little bit to a few more questions or whatnot, but I think it's, I'd say easy. You have a deeper why, a deeper vision of exercise, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
I want to exercise because there's just so much roots to that. You get a new member and they maybe don't resonate quite with I don't know, I say Christianity or just
Yeah.
a deeper vision.
Oh, yeah.
How do you translate that to a new member or a person who's just I just want abs or something like that?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I would say we try not to, we try to meet people where they are. Sure. And so when somebody comes in Iron Tribe, it's really just us trying to understand, where are you?
Sure.
What have you done in the past? And what do you want to accomplish?
Yeah.
And some people, it may seem on the outset very vain or, just different than this very deep reason as to why they want to
Yeah.
enter into an exercise program. And that's more than okay.
Sure.
But one thing that I do try to challenge, people in my life to think about is you're not in control of the number of days that you have,
Yeah.
but you are in control of the quality of the days that you have.
Right.
And exercise and way of quality of life and even length of life,
Yeah.
it's so well stated and researched on its positive impact.
Right.
And so trying to help people obviously hit those small short-term goals that they want to accomplish is huge. But really, we're preaching a lifestyle
Yeah.
where nutrition, fitness, and accountability
Yeah.
is something that they see as an investment they're making into themselves when they're 70, 80 years old.
Right.
Because when you're 70 or 80 years old, yes, is it going to matter if you have a six pack? Is it going to matter how much you bench?
Right.
It's just not. And so at Iron Tribe, we've just tried to create this culture of we are for everybody.
Yeah.
And while there's certainly limitations physically, we try to modify our workouts around those. But just like philosophically, it's like you're doing this to enhance your quality of life.
Yeah.
And the way you eat and the way you exercise has a direct influence on that. And so in as much as you allow us to come alongside you, support you, hold you accountable, be that friendly, in-your-face person who just is that positive encouragement for you to keep coming back. And so we really just try to preach consistency.
I love that.
And, you know, something for me, like my vision for health is like, hey, if I can make it to 100 years old, you know, what I'm doing today will influence that. And so how I train, how I eat, I want to be able to be like that fit grandpa who can basically outrun, outlift his grandkids. Now, maybe that's, you know, a little far reaching, but I'm pretty convinced that's going to be the case.
I've seen some on TikTok that this guy and his son recorded every year on his birthday a race that he did.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't until he was like 24 that he actually could beat him.
Beat his dad.
Yeah. And so I love, and the dad at that point was mid-50s, you know, and so.
Oh, look, my boys
like that, you know?
consistently, you know, they're 7 and 5. They watch everything I do.
Yeah.
And they know that fitness is a big priority in our lives. And I think that's cool because it's developing in them. Exercise develops so much more than just the physical benefits.
Yeah, it's huge. Well, I think you kind of covered both of these questions, but I want to hear a little bit more practically. Somebody goes to Iron Tribe. What is it? What is, you know, you're not just walking in any other gym.
Yeah.
What makes y'all unique, and what does it look like if I'm going to Iron Tribe for a workout and all that?
Yeah, it's always good. One, you know, if I were to be talking with somebody on the street to ask what they have done in the past, a lot of people have a good framework for your big box gyms like Planet Fitness, your Spectrums, where you walk in, you're really paying for access.
Sure.
So you're getting access to equipment, but really in terms of what you do, how you eat, and all that,
It's up to
good
you.
luck.
Yep.
Go on Google, figure it out.
We also have free pizza nights or free
Yeah,
bagel nights.
I mean, geez, we should start doing that. Maybe our membership would skyrocket. But how we kind of try to describe how we're different from those gyms is they're not really even helping you with the fitness structure component.
Yeah.
So every time you walk in Iron Tribe, you don't have to think about what you're going to do, how to do it. You got a coach that's going to guide you through every step of your fitness journey.
Right.
Then you got to think about nutrition. So for our members, they have access to resources that we have, generic meal plans, coaches have resources that they're easily accessible. So every member has an assigned coach. And that both helps in way of nutrition and accountability. And so think of it as like a 3-legged stool without one of the legs. It just doesn't work. Yeah. And so at Iron Tribe, we're just taking a holistic approach and saying, for this to work for most people, because exercise is not fun, and most people don't want to work out. Right. So how can, we make it like somewhat fun and enjoyable? Yeah. Well, having a community of people around you that are like-minded certainly is a good start. Yeah. And then 2, having coaches that are likable and enjoyable and who love people, who want to serve, who one of our core values is we measure our success by the success of others. Yeah. So just this idea of like, when somebody gets their first push-up, when somebody gets their first pull-up, our coaches are fired up. Yeah, you know, awesome. And so I think, you know, that's really the difference. Like one gym, you're more or less paying for access. For us, you're paying for service.
And then obviously with the Surge and CrossFit and all these other gyms, are y'all way more on that functional fitness, or do y'all do or whatever they're doing or whatever? Yeah. You've got more of a concern than I do.
So what I like to tell people is CrossFit's not, it's just a brand, but they're affiliate in how they operate, which just means that you can go to one CrossFit gym and get an exceptional service, and you can go to another one that's just totally different. And so at Iron Tribe, we are a franchise. Think of it like MacBook and PC. PC, bunch of different operating systems. You really don't functionally know how each one of those PCs works. MacBook, they've just like made it super simple. You open up your laptop, it connects to your phone, it connects to your earpads. You you just kind of know what you're going to get. It looks good. It feels good. It's easy to use.
Yeah.
When you walk in an Iron Tribe, like there's a standard that's high, and there's a level of consistency that we try to own up to, whether that's on the floor, whether that's in way of community and bringing people together to, have that camaraderie, and then having goals and accountability.
It's awesome. That's cool.
It translates to, our industry of real estate of like, there's so many realtors, right? But like, we are constantly having to pitch our value proposition of why we're the realtor for them versus another. Yeah. So same with, gyms. It's like, all right, hey, I can go to, I guess, name drop and Planet Fitness and pay this much. Yeah. Why are you worth this much? And pitching that value proposition.
Well, and look, and what I would say is like, if you have the know-how, the discipline, and the want to go and show up to Planet Fitness, you're going to do great.
Yeah. Sure.
And go do that. But I would say there's a lot of people who don't know what they're doing, and that's no fault to them. Right, it's like, hey, if I needed to get my teeth worked on, I'm not going to see a lawyer. Yeah, I'm going to go see a dentist, And I think, going back to your question, how are our classes different? Yeah. I always just try to tell people like our group classes are for general fitness. Yeah. And so that covers a wide gamut, and really our aims there is we want to help people's aerobic health. We want to help them get strong. We want to help them be flexible. We want to help them basically have a functional set of fitness. Yeah. And so the movements that are out there across Orange Theory, F45, CrossFit, Iron Tribe, and how they're delivered, I think it's more in the delivery that there's a difference. Sure. Like, what's the aim? Well, we're trying to aim. We're not, CrossFit, its tagline is forging elite athletes. Right. Like, nobody at Iron Tribe is trying to become an elite athlete. Yeah, right. Like, we're just trying to be healthy.
Yeah.
That's
cool. And then we also have small group personal training.
I like that. It's cool.
That's sweet, man. Yeah. So, wrapping things up, I guess one final question would be, I guess I'll go the business mind, right? As far as like if someone is maybe in the stage where you were of like, okay, I could be a missionary, I could be a lawyer, I could be a...
I would like to meet that person.
Right.
Because it's very...
So say someone like that is watching this, what's your word of advice to them? And you may have already said it throughout the episode, but I guess speak to them a little bit of any sort of encouragement or word of advice.
Yeah, I would say one, feel free to reach out to me because I'd love to meet you and really just help you. And I would say that I owe a lot of the decisions that I ended up making to the good people that were in my corner. Mm-hmm. And I can remember there was a guy that I was a coach for in New Orleans, and he owns the Yogurtland franchises in Baton Rouge, or actually in Louisiana. Wow. And he just said, Hayden, something you need to know before becoming a franchisee, and if you become a franchisee, is it's still your small business. The franchisor is not going to drive down to Baton Rouge and make this work. And so from day one, you just need to have this sense of ownership of becoming a entrepreneur and small business owner that like it's yours to cultivate and to steward. So from a business perspective, that was really helpful, but like just trying to decide on what to do, what worked for me, almost 10 years ago before becoming a franchisee was just prayer and a sense of, all right, I see these opportunities in front of me. What doors keep opening? What doors are closing? Yeah. And so there was some things with Bible translation and law school that just didn't open up for me. Yeah. And so the door that opened was Iron Tribe, and I walked through it, and I've tried to be faithful towards it. And again, I don't own Iron Tribe. Like, it's a gift. I'm trying to steward it well. I do good some days I don't. Yeah. But yeah, if you're listening and there's something I can do to help you, I'm happy to.
That's great, man.
Love it.
That's good advice. Yeah. I mean, just so much of it is intertwined and all weaved together, but the stewardship aspect of it, that we understand what we're in control of and what we're not, and what we're just managing, and we just want to do it well. And the Lord directs the steps of the righteous, but we have to be stepping through those doors. Yeah. Not just sitting still and be like, all right, well, is this Bible translation thing going to work out or not? We got to step. So
I think I heard this said the other day, like grace is not opposed to effort, it's opposed to merit. And
that's good.
So that's, awesome. That's something too. It's just like, hey, Ephesians 2 says like God has prepared good works in advance in order that I would walk in them. And so for me, it's like my whole life's planned out. Yeah. I can either like submit myself to the creator of the universe who knows me better than anybody, or I can submit to myself, which would be, in my opinion, not so great. Well, and I do it every day. So I know what it's like. It's terrible. Yeah.
That's good, man. Grace does not submit to.
Grace is not opposed to effort. It's opposed to merit.
That's good. Yeah, we
He's
don't
out
deserve
there,
it,
man.
Yeah, I might
just
have
give
to
him credit.
take notes.
I don't know who I need to give credit to. Not me.
Nothing new under the sun. We're
Yeah.
good.
There you go.
So rapid fire time.
Yeah, let's do it, man. Do you have a question?
I do. It's not. Yeah, it's not like
have
a
two
this
I'm
or
choosing
that.
from.
Okay, so I'll start. So obviously, with health, diet, and everything like that, super important to you. But just one. You can only do one cheat meal for the rest.
That was one of my questions.
Okay,
So good.
so
You helped me.
You can only do one cheat meal for the rest of your life. Like you eat clean, but the one cheat meal that you repeat over and over and over.
Easy.
Okay.
Easy. Georgia's Southside bacon cheeseburger.
Come on, bro.
Small order cheese fries. And
Small.
I do it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
I do it like every week. And it is phenomenal.
Yeah,
And
okay.
Have to try it.
I'm not ashamed of it. I love my bacon cheeseburgers.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. I would say I actually recant that. And I would say Iverstein Butcher has the best double bacon cheeseburger in Baton Rouge.
Okay.
Their fries are phenomenal. And something to note is you can have a beer with your burger and fries now. Galen, you're welcome.
Come on, man. I've never
say,
tried that.
yeah. Shout out to the
Yeah,
members.
Shout out to Galen Iverstein.
Let's go.
I went there the other day. I
Try
got
it
the
out.
Cuban. Cuban's hard to beat.
You can't go wrong at Iverstein. It's good stuff.
Come on,
Man, good
I'm gonna
good
have to add that to
question.
the list.
That was going to be
Okay, cool.
my
I like
one
that.
of them. So my rapid fire, and I guess these aren't really that rapid fire, but you can only choose 2 exercise movements to do for the rest of your life.
Oh, man.
Right? You're working out. You can work out as much as you want, but you can only do two movements.
Okay.
What would they be?
I'm going with back squat because squat therapy. And it's a thing. I can talk more about that later.
That's another episode for another day.
And probably the deadlift. Probably squat and deadlift, because as you age, the most important thing to have is muscle mass.
Yeah.
And those are big compound lifts that are full body. It's helping you have a strong core, helping you have strong legs, strong back. And something that I think I did create this saying is strong legs, strong back, strong core, can't stop me.
Yeah, let's go.
Nice.
And then strong mind.
I love it.
yeah.
This guy knows what he's talking about,
Yeah.
man.
I figured I knew you would go
love
with a
that.
body, like a full body type. I didn't know if you go power clean because that's kind of like the lift.
It's explosive. It's a good one, but not completely. Yeah, I think I like the simplicity of the squat
Thank
and
God,
deadlift.
because I've been power clean since high school.
Yeah,
So
it's power clean is
you know,
great as
yeah.
well, but like for the rest of my life,
Sure.
Yeah.
There's videos of, I think this 80-year-old man who's deadlifting something crazy,
Yeah.
small,
Sure.
but 400 pounds or something,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And you just need to be able to sit down. If I want to, as long as I possibly can, be able to lay flat on the floor and unassisted be able to get up.
Yeah.
And the research that basically is tied to your ability of doing that
Yeah.
and your quality of life, I mean, it's just
Crazy.
if people knew it,
Dude, that's
they would start working out right
Yeah.
now. Well, you would think, but
Yeah.
There's
They
gonna be a
should.
couple people
Few
that know
barriers in the
now.
way.
Yeah.
I love
Right.
it, man. That's encouraging.
That's awesome.
It's good. You know,
I would
obviously
just do
know your
biceps over and over.
yeah,
That's all he does.
I've
He
always
just does
avoided
chest.
biceps. They just don't seem to grow how I want. So
Well, man, we appreciate you coming on the show. I do want to ask one question. A lot of people are probably wondering, when are you going to open another location in like the central Denham area? 'Cause
Oh,
we would-
man,
we would
put on
love
the
to-
spot.
Other people
Yeah,
over there.
I have been asked that question actually quite a few times.
Yeah.
And something that I would say in response is, I want to grow well
Yep, I know.
and good.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so, and as much as like we can be faithful
Yeah.
and run these 2 gyms that we currently are the best we possibly can,
Yeah.
then we'll move on to Central. I'll steal it from True Kathy of Chick-fil-A. They operated for something like 20 years before opening their second location. And I just think there's a lot of wisdom in
Yeah,
like
that's cool.
slow growth.
Yep.
So, and I've learned my lesson with the New Orleans
Yep. Yeah, I get it.
instance. Like,
Sure.
I'm just moving slow
Yeah.
here. Just
Yeah.
I'm grateful for where we're at.
It was
we're
a
at.
little bait there.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you'd be like, We're coming
Tomorrow.
dropping June 2020.
No. Sorry.
man, but-
Sorry to let my Central people down.
All good, man. Yeah, thanks so much for giving us your time.
Sure, yeah.
I know it's Friday, so you got to get to the finances.
Finances and maybe a bacon cheeseburger.
Yes,
Ooh,
sir.
yeah.
Don't mind now.
We hope you got some value, guys, from this. Again, he's offered if you want to reach out, if you're in kind of that crossroads of what to do in life, or if you're just in Baton Rouge and you want to get another or get a feel for your fitness and your health and something that's deeper. Iron Tribe would be happy to help you.
Yeah.
So like our stories, share, promote it, whatever. We don't want to keep this a secret. We want to give everybody the value. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you next time.
See ya.
See ya.